I think a lot of the time people think marketing is just, making something pretty, which I do not like that quote.
The most important attitude is like stay thirsty, my friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just constantly learning.
So the more human you can make your brand, the more trustworthy you can make your brand, the more absorbable your content is, it's going to help that person lead their business to yours.
The hero isn't our product. Our hero isn't, what we're selling. Our hero is our audience.
The more you get bogged down, the longer you spend time staring at, your laptop screen, the less and less inspired you'll be, and I just think about when you say, we need to stay up to date. The way to do that is to be out in the world.
Okay, welcome everybody to another Carpool Conversations. I'm excited about this one because it's about ACC, which we're going to talk all about. But I have the current president of ACC with me, Leyla Saad. She's now the marketing coordinator of ZF Aftermarket. Welcome, Leyla.
Thank you.
To your first podcast,
Absolutely.
potentially.
Ever.
Yeah, and you're going to nail it. And Lance Boldt, who's been around ACC for a while. I'm going to let him talk about that. But also the co-founder and VP of production development for AutoNet TV Media. Seen him, I'm sure he's a familiar face to many. You've been hopping around like auto care shows and events for years since I've been in the aftermarket. So awesome to have you guys on. Leyla, let's start with you. Want to tell us a little bit about your tenure in the aftermarket?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little bit newer. I joined the aftermarket right out of college, 2020. Jacki was actually my first boss. So Jacki hired me into the aftermarket actually in Troy, Michigan. So we started out working together at Sensata Technologies, a Schrader TPMS Solutions brand. I did that for maybe 3.5 years. And then I came over to ZF Group, specifically in the aftermarket side, focusing a lot on the commercial vehicle space. So I do that. And I'm also involved in a couple industry associations, namely, of course, Automotive Communications Council, where I'm currently the sitting president. So It's been great. Short, but really fulfilling so far.
Yeah. You've done a lot. And I wasn't planning to tell this story, but I kind of forgot about it. I knew about Leyla because your resume came across my desk and I saw that you went to the high school that one of my best friends taught at. Mm-hmm. So I called her and I asked for a reference for her and she's like, oh, hire her. Yeah. But it just tells you, be careful who you're mean to in life, like you never know.
That is my largest takeaway ever. Yeah. You just do not know where things will cross.
Right.
If I was a bad student, I don't know if I'd be sitting here right now.
But luckily
I did good.
Luckily you were a star then. Yeah. You're a star now. Yeah. And another fun fact, we hired Leyla onto the marketing team at Schrader and I was like 8.5 weeks pregnant. So I basically hired her and then ran away for
it was also March 2020. So I started during COVID. Yeah. So they mailed my laptop and I was learning how to do stuff from my childhood bedroom. So
basically, the fact that you survived your first 6 months in the industry, everything else is like downhill for the rest of your career. Yeah. Still here, still kicking. And then Lance, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I was an estate tax planner for 20 years and helping rich people move their money. And then the tax law changed and I didn't need any help because the law basically took it away. So we looked at it for another industry to kind of move into, my partners and I love automotive and we had a focus group and stuff, and we ran a number of things past them, and this is what stuck. Doing on-screen programming in service center waiting areas.
Yeah, and then how long have you been doing AutoNet?
It's 21 years now. Yeah.
So how long have you been in the industry?
21 years.
Okay, so that was the first.
That was it.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah, and then how long have you been a part of ACC?
I started right away. We were looking for mentors and found Tom Marks.
Yeah.
And he said, you need to go to ACC. So I went there within months of, and have been there ever since.
So a good 20 years.
20 years.
ACC for you. So you have a lot of history of this organization. And how long has ACC been around though?
My understanding, it was in the mid 40s, 1940s, and it was both OEs and aftermarket folks at that time.
Okay. And then it was, so I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about what ACC is so that people that don't know will know for the rest of this conversation. But the exciting news and why we want to talk a little bit about ACC and why we want to talk about, we're going to transition this into some relevant marketing skills of today. But the reason we're so excited to talk about it is because the Auto Care Association just acquired, or I would even argue reacquired, ACC. So it's going to become an amazing community of the Auto Care Association available to our members. We're so excited about it. So we just want to talk a little bit about it. But tell us a little bit about, both of you, what ACC is and why people should care.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, ACC engages marketing and communication professionals in the aftermarket through a variety of ways, learning, training, development, personal and professional development, and networking. I think at the heart of ACC is the networking, the friendships, and community that is really made. So, yeah. Lance?
Well, I would agree with that, and especially the networking part again. That was just a wonderful way to meet industry leaders, but also other participants in the aftermarket.
Yeah. ACC was actually the first community I was ever involved in, ever. So I don't even know how long that was ago. I don't even want to say it out loud anyway, so it's good that I don't remember. But it was immediately like, I think there's something about marketers. Not everybody in the company, they think they know. It seems like sometimes everybody thinks they know how to do marketing right, but like something connects marketers together where it's like we all know each other's struggles and like the dynamics of being a marketer, especially in this industry, the challenges, all that kind of stuff. There's something about getting all those people together in a room and being able to lean on each other. And like so many of the phone calls that I've made over the years, when I have something I'm trying to figure out at work with marketing, it's an ACC member. So it really is all about the networking. And it's so exciting that it's coming back under Auto Care. It was under Auto Care at one point.
Well, kind of unofficially. We worked, the Car Care Council which is no longer operating. They provided a couple of people from the association to help us with all the management and provided a lot of service. And at some point, someone at Auto Care said, "Why are we paying for these guys?" And so we became independent and, but still have always been very well supported by Auto Care.
Yeah. And it feels so cool to like welcome ACC under the umbrella. I served as president for ACC right before COVID, like 2019. And I remember these conversations were happening back then, and then COVID hit, not a priority anymore, so this like resurfaced, which is amazing. And Leyla, it's so cool that you get to, it feels like a legacy. Like now you get to see this through. That's amazing. And you've done a great job. So just to give people an idea, let's talk a little bit about the type of content that EC provides. I know every conference I've attended has been top notch, and you walk away with the best thing is that you can go to so many marketing conferences, but only a fraction of it is actually applicable to the automotive aftermarket dynamics, right? And maybe a lot of it seems to be B2C, and a lot of what we do is B2B at certain levels. So, let's talk a little bit about ACC's content.
Yeah, absolutely. We work really hard every year with our annual conference to put together a really well-rounded agenda. Just thinking to our past conference this spring in Minneapolis, we covered a lot of different topics. One of them, we did everything from like we heard from the Lift Garage, who is a garage that provides car repairs for low-income individuals. To we had someone come speak from Polaris, talking about how to make purchasing easier for our consumers, which, in an industry where some of our stuff is so technical, we have to talk about how can we help people make the right decision and understand, okay, but what part number do I actually need and why? Everything from that to, we talked about why you need to know what generative AI thinks about your brand, talking about like, when you search your company's name on ChatGPT, where is it getting that information, right? And like, how can you optimize your web presence so that when it's pulling data, it's showing people what you want it to show people. So really covering everything from like human elements to, nonprofits to the technology of today. And yeah, so I felt like we all walked away with a lot of different topics in mind.
Yeah.
And so
That sounds fantastic.
yeah.
And things that are really difficult to navigate on your own. So
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So it kind of brings us to our actual, professional development topic today. Of just, what are some of the most relevant marketing skills that are really needed to be successful in the automotive aftermarket? And I feel like I got two incredible people to be here to talk about it. So what are some of the most relevant skills you guys think marketers need to be thinking about? Stare down.
Well,
Lance loses.
I lost. I'm not on the, like the deployment of the marketing stuff, but content. I mean, things have to very quickly tell a story. Your message has to be very accessible and relevant, and got to work really hard sometimes to do that.
Yeah.
The longer form, the content. We do a lot of videos for marketers, and you really have to watch your seconds and make them count.
Yeah, content's huge. I feel like you could do a whole episode just on the context behind content. And it's something you always have to stay updated on. And stay in the know. Like I struggle with that because I'm not a big social media user. That usually surprises people, but I'm like, I do a lot on LinkedIn, but like Instagram, I'm a year in. Like I'm still trying to figure out Instagram. It stresses me out. Facebook, I don't really use. I use it more to like stay in touch with old classmates. I don't post on it. I don't do it. But like I try to be on these platforms just to see what's happening. I still don't have TikTok. It's a terrible thing to like admit, but like, it's so important to like see what people are doing in content. And when you mentioned long form content, that's huge. And I think that that's a gap in this industry because it's scary to like take on long. That's a big reason why we started this podcast is we didn't have a long form content that was consistent that we could chop up and use everywhere all the time, so long form content is a huge one.
Yeah. Speaking about content, I think one of the most important skills, Lance was saying he's not so much on the deployment side, whereas deployment is most of what I do is kind of, it's very project management. That's how I feel. It's combining a lot of different components and delivering it is really what I'm in charge of. And I work so cross-functionally with category managers, with salespeople, with engineers. And the biggest thing for me is how to simplify the content and make it quickly accessible. Like you've got a couple seconds to get a message across, and I'll be given a super large part number table and with application information, cross-reference information, and it's on me to make it enjoyable to read and easy to read and to help pull out what's interesting about these part numbers, right? We can't it's not just a catalog. It's supposed to be something engaging, and you have to work really hard in marketing to take this technical information and make it interesting, whether it's a video or a flyer or a social post. It's just a really important skill to be able to take technical, automotive information and make it digestible.
Yeah. Digestible and like, fresh.
Yeah.
Because I know I came from the supplier world.
Yeah.
Obviously. And, we did TPMS.
Yeah.
And I always joke, like I used to have a monthly article in Babcock's and we talk about TPMS. And I'm like, I don't know how else to say it. I did that for 5 years. And I'm like, I just don't know. And that was before ChatGPT. So I kind of pat myself on the back for that. But I'm like, I just don't know how else to spin this guy,
Yeah.
So I think that that's a little bit of creativity there too. Yeah. In perspective, because you really got to put yourself in the audience of who you're trying to talk to and what their current level of technical knowledge is. And like, how do you get at their level? Like, that's a great one. So I'm just curious if you have an answer to this or not, but how do you do that? Like, how do you look at that and simplify it?
Well, I think first thing which is another important marketing skill, is really understanding your audience and meeting them where they are. So you have to understand who you're trying to speak to, and you can kind of figure out the medium to deliver the message from there. So if you're talking to shop owners or, people behind the counter or the people that are actually turning the wrench, depending on that, you choose your method of delivery, whether it's going to be print media, which, is more popular with the people who are more hands-on. They still prefer to, read the magazine on the counter at their workshop. Or if you're talking, more B2B, decision makers, you're going to want to look at LinkedIn ads. And so, just really, trying to get super granular with who your audience is and making sure that, that's the right delivery platform for them.
It's like a multimedia approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else? What about branding and storytelling? Because that's becoming huge in every industry. It just seems like it just keeps getting bigger. Like, it used to be content is king. It still is, but I think, that was all over the place 5 years ago. Marketers, I just think a marketing conference said content is king. But now it's becoming more like storytelling, brand, getting people like more involved in your brand, creating fans of your brand. It's more emotional. It's like, there's so many, like thousands of ways to do that. That's so relevant. It's less seen in our industry, but still so relevant. Are suppliers thinking about that stuff?
I think so. I mean, I know, we heavily invest in our network support programs and our loyalty programs to, and encourage our field teams to be out there, going face to face with our customers, because I think that takes it one step further than, just an online campaign. I think loyalty programs, network programs where we, deliver swag right to our workshops. We give them exclusive benefits, for being a part of our network, whatever it may be. I think that really helps drive loyalty, when we, help brand them and tell them, you are a preferred partner of ours. We love the work that you do, and you get our thumbs up of approval. I think that really helps drive loyalty. So yeah, I would say suppliers do look at, how to make our customers feel seen and really part of, our family. Yeah.
I think one of the things we've been doing for quite a while now is the hero's journey. And that's something we always keep in the back of mind. And the hero isn't our product. Our hero isn't, what we're selling. Our hero is our audience. And there are the villains, whether it's complexity or, rust or whatever the villain is. And, we help guide, our viewer takes on the role of being the hero and coming up with a solution. And that's sometimes hard to do in 20 seconds. It's easier to do in 3 minutes. But the idea is to make it so that the person that you want to have take action is motivated to take action. Sometimes that motivation is, I've got to learn more, but sometimes we've presented enough that they can make a decision there.
Are companies approaching you and telling you that this is what they want? Like this hero story? Or is this something that you're having to explain?
Well, we kind of have, a powwow before we get going, and we talk about these kind of things and different alternatives and see what's resonating with them. We try to encourage them to, as you say, talk with other departments and divisions. That's sometimes hard. Mm-hmm. But that initial kind of plan results in, okay, here's kind of a write-up of what we understand, and here's maybe 2 or 3 ways we could approach it. And I think that pre-planning of the content is what really makes it a home run eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I like that hero message, and I think something that it is a really easy one for us as automotive suppliers, and just all of us in the aftermarket industry that, is an inspiring message for our audience, is that, what we do every day keeps us moving, right? I mean, we're all about mobility and mobility uptime, whether it's, a passenger car or a commercial vehicle. The parts and services we are offering impact all of us on a daily basis. So
Absolutely.
It's an easy and understandable and 1,000% true message. So, yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I was just, as you guys were talking, it kind of made me think of another skill that I think marketers need to have permission to have sometimes. And that's, I don't want to say that we're not naturally good critical thinkers, but I think it's important, especially for people that come into this industry. It is so complicated. And a lot of things end up falling into like, well, this is just what's always worked. Like print, like I'm not saying we don't do that, but like there's a certain audience that loves print, and you truly need to understand that really is a thing. But I think it's so important for marketers to look at all the things that you do, look at your budget, and just really assess, like, is this the best way? And that's mostly because technology changes so much. And then people's appetites change so much that if you're not constantly, looking at the direction you're heading and constantly looking at what you're putting out there and is it still relevant, it's really easy to get outdated. It's really easy to like get lost in the mix because you're not staying up with the flow, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for marketers in this industry because sometimes it does feel like those marketing trends move slower here. Like we're the last to try it, there's a lot of opportunity for marketers to kind of be the first to introduce certain things to the aftermarket, which would make your company look similar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like two things came to mind with that. One is like,
why are you grinning?
No, it's just two fun things came to mind. One, that's the beauty of, having, young, fresh perspectives, in the industry because, as technology keeps evolving, no one knows better than, the youths about the new platforms that are coming out. And,
right.
That's why it's important that we have communities like ACC, to keep creating senses of community, to create welcoming spaces for new faces. And, that helps drive, ingenuity, for companies. And then second is this is so random, but take more vacation time, especially marketers, because,
oh my gosh, yeah,
because you cannot, the more you get bogged down, the longer you spend time staring at, your laptop screen, the less and less, inspired you'll be, and I just think about when you say, we need to stay up to date. The way to do that is to be out in the world.
That's so true.
To be seeing what's going on. So yeah, those are my two key points.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Advice I wish I had followed.
Yeah.
I go and I look at my PTO and it's always like a 10-to-1 ratio of sick versus fun.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm better when I take, like in the summer, we're very fortunate at Auto Care Association. We do have a great, benefits with time off. And I work a lot of 4-day weeks and I take a Friday off. And I find that during the week, a lot of times I'm literally just trying to meet my deadlines, it's just a lot of like kind of like repetitive, the same work. And I just, the social media needs to go out. We need to figure out what we're doing next week. And there's just like, you kind of have like the system in place. But my Fridays are like usually when you have the time and the brain capacity to think about the new ideas and think about like what's working and what's not. And it's usually when I kind of think about, okay, everything we're doing right now, we wouldn't have time to try anything new, right? It's when I can think about, okay, what should we drop? It's not always about doing more. Sometimes it's like, stop doing the stuff that isn't as productive as some of the other things that you could be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the time people think marketing is just, making something pretty, which I do not like that quote at all. Yeah, they send you something and just say, "Oh, marketing will make it look nice." Like we do a lot more than just make it look pretty. But a lot of what I'm sure a lot of marketers can relate to this. It's not always a large part of our job isn't creativity. It's we're in charge of our budgets. We have to issue POs. We have to work on putting together catalog data, right? And so it's important we do have time in the week for creativity, because otherwise, exactly like you said, you're just focused on hitting your deadlines, and your creativity starts to dwindle. And that's the whole point of my role, is to creatively get a message out there, you know, and you keep getting bogged down with your daily tasks, which are very important to keep the lights on. That's where you could start to fall behind on marketing trends. Yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
And I think planning in advance is really important because you can, for, 5% more time or something like that, you can come up with a whole new deliverable if you've planned in advance. So, where could this be used? What other departments? Is this going to Mexico or Quebec?
Yeah.
And if so, maybe you can get that budget to pay for the translation and stuff, And so we just try to come up with some practical synergy, but then also, how can we leverage what we're doing to get you the most content for what, for the buck?
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I really would love to see in this industry, and specifically for the marketers, is I would love to see a little bit more risk taking. And it's scary. A lot of the bigger companies like ZF, they're going to be a little bit more conservative. But I feel like it's so easy to stand out right now in the industry. It doesn't take that much bravery, but it takes a little bit that people aren't used to taking right now. But to do things that are a little bit crazy, like a little bit wacky, that kind of stand out a little bit more. And I would love to see our industry start doing that kind of stuff because, we talk all the time about the void we have with people coming into this industry. And it's such a fabulous place to be. But that's why I'm so excited for ACC to come back, to come under the Auto Care umbrella, because this group is who we want to help spread that message. And they don't have to be spreading the message of the industry necessarily, but by spreading the message of their companies in more trendy ways and in more forward-thinking ways, it's going to make our industry look more forward-thinking, more exciting. It's going to bring more people in that are creative as well, because they're going to be like, this is a space where we can try things, and I would love to see our marketers leaning into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I see a lot of creativity on some of the trade show pages, especially on LinkedIn. I see the Heavy Duty Aftermarket Week official page uses a lot of memes. I think it's very funny. I see a lot of Michael Scott, The Office references on there. Apex does a good job of using.
They do the little reels and things.
I think it's great. I see a lot of creativity around trade shows.
ACPN too.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great one.
They have a lot of personality in their social media. It's so refreshing.
And it's very, very funny. And absolutely, I think, because, you see that personified or that personification of a lot of B2C brands, where they very much, they have people commenting under the Pepsi account on random videos you see online that say things like, slay, we support this. And it's like, what is Pepsi doing here? But it's hilarious, and, where appropriate, I think automotive brands can definitely start to start to poke a little more fun at ourselves.
Absolutely. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Like a McDonald's Burger King feud. Yeah. But like the automotive aftermarket version.
Exactly.
That would be so.
It's like, Wendy's and McDonald's had that ongoing thing for a decade.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love stuff. It's same with Pepsi and Coke.
Yeah.
Like they're just friendly banter, but it's awesome.
So I think there's definitely room for that. Mm-hmm. And again, it comes with fresh perspectives, so.
Yeah. So get to work.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we have to kind of land this plane, or park this car.
Yeah. There you go.
So just curious before we do, how do you guys, is it podcasts that you listen to? Like, how do you, and I know you're not on the necessarily the execution side, Lance, but I know you have to stay kind of updated with what's going on. So how do you guys do that?
Well, for me, I'm honestly subscribed to a ton of newsletters, especially from people like social media agencies, digital agencies, content creation, and industry publications. But especially for staying on trend with stuff, I do subscribe to a lot of like we'll bring a social media agency to talk about trends at our ACC conferences. I always keep in touch with those people, those agencies, because they'll deliver, weekly or monthly content on what's the latest pulse on social media.
Nice.
So I do that. And then also honestly scrolling LinkedIn, you get a ton of you get a ton of cool ideas from, marketers highlighting what their brands are doing. I save a lot of posts, take a lot of screenshots. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But the LinkedIn I do daily. The other thing though is I've just subscribed to gazillion newsletters, so anything Endeavor Media or Babcock's or Crane does, and you just see what's going on. And sometimes it's just a quick blast through, but there's always one or two things that you say, oh, I like how they do that, or this is something really that we can build on.
Yeah, that's a great one. And it's also kind of brings a good point that it's so important for marketers to stay in tuned with the stories of the industry, not necessarily that pertain just to their competitors or just to their customers or just to them, but the industry as a whole, because you don't know how many, you could connect a lot of the things that are being talked about, whether it's a challenge, if it's right to repair or something like that, and aligning your brand to those things and like looking like a solution provider and, knowing those things. So newsletters, that's huge. Definitely stay in tune with our big media companies here in the aftermarket. So I usually just go around the room and see, usually humans have the capacity to probably take away one thing that we talked about. So what do each of you hope that it is?
For me, stay connected. I think, marketers often, sometimes we're a team of one, sometimes we're a team of maybe 3 or 4 if we're lucky. And I think it's important you stay connected through opportunities like through ACC, through the various auto care communities, because, you really form more friendships that way and you can learn from each other. And just staying connected keeps you, having people to go to for advice, for inspiration, to air your grievances, whatever it may be. But yeah, staying connected in your industry, super important.
It reminds me because usually how, and I don't know what it'll look like moving forward, frankly, but I know in the ACC conferences, the first session you guys usually do is, what do you guys call it?
House business,
something like that. I think it's something more clever, but I can't think of what it is. But really, you're just kind of going around the room and talking about what ails you,
Exactly.
what you're struggling with in your company. And it's always really validating, right? To know like, okay, your company's not unique in that there's budgeting constraints. You're not in the wrong place just because you don't get the budget you want. That's everywhere,
Exactly.
Hearing those kinds of things are really validating. Yeah.
I think the most important attitude is like stay thirsty, my friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just constantly learning. If there's a sector you don't understand, there's always content and webinars and learning for that. If you're going to break into a different sector, you all of a sudden start going to their conferences. And so, to me, that's knowledge is power, and just keep bringing it in and take good notes so you don't forget it, and share it with your team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great one. I kind of want to make a point just because we kind of hit on it, but we didn't talk about it. But, we talked about how a lot of the conferences you go to or a lot of the information you get tends to be like 90% of it feels like it's B2C. We use that term. And some of the business that's done here is definitely B2C. But an older term now is B2P, business to person. And I think that goes along with when we talk about getting outside of our comfort zones a little bit as an industry, as marketers in this industry. Remember, you are still talking to people at the business, right? So the more human you can make your brand, the more trustworthy you can make your brand, the more absorbable your content is, it's going to help that person lead their business to yours. So at the end of the day, there's differences in what the content should be to a B2B business, but it doesn't always have to be a different execution of it. So just be thinking that way, and that way we can kind of bring this, craft up in our industry. Well, thank you guys so much
I think it's been
for this. This was awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It's my first podcast. So
I know, and you did fabulous. You both
super
did.
fun.
This wasn't your first podcast, was it?
No, it's my first
It's your
podcast.
first podcast?
really?
I love
Oh my
it.
gosh.
I wish I had known that. You guys were both so calm and cool. You were so calm and cool. I really thought that you had done this 1,000 times. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thanks.